So this is going to be a bit of a random video. Just something I've been thinking about the last few weeks. The heavyweight boxing scene in general, which has obviously been going through a lull for what seems like a long time. And I was just thinking, just to myself, who could possibly beat the Klitschkos and sort of dethrone those two as the number one guy in the heavyweight ranks. And it's a tough one. I mean, it really is. I was really struggling to think who could dethrone them. As long as they want to stay interested in the sport, and as long as they can train and get motivated for fights, I just don't think there's really anybody in the near future that's going to upset them and take any of their belts. I mean, obviously, they both got interest in politics. They've got their film coming out later this year, which should be really good. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the Klitschkos. They get a lot of shit in the boxing media and in the boxing community, and I think it's absolutely unjust. In my opinion, I think they've been nothing but a credit to the sport. When you've got people like Hay and Chisora causing fiasco at press conferences and pre-fight weigh-ins and stuff like that, and you see all the other fighters that out there that are causing sort of trouble, I think they've been absolute credit to boxing, and they are without doubt one of the sort of the few fighters that I actually look forward to watching. I do look forward to watching their fights just because I always want to see how they're going to do. I think it may be that there's that vulnerability there that everybody knows about, especially with Vladimir. He's obviously got the question marks every time over his chin, but I mean, I don't think it's founded. I mean, I really don't. I think he's obviously had a couple of tough losses when he was supposed to win, but everyone goes through that. Look at Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis got knocked out by Azim Rahman. Nobody expected it. Obviously, the loss to Oliver McCall as well, both of which obviously Lennox Lewis avenged. But yeah, there's always the question mark over Vladimir Klitschko's heart and his chin. He obviously unexpected losses against Lamont Brewster and who was the other guy? Corey Sanders. That's it. He lost to Corey Sanders. Obviously, lost both those fights by TKO. Totally unexpected. But this is, I think, going back to like 2004, 2003, 2004, that sort of time. So obviously a long, long time ago. And in my opinion, the question marks aren't there anymore about his will to win, about his heart, his fight as a fighting champion. There's no doubt about it that the Klitschkos, that they do want it and they have got the heart for it. If you look at Vitaly Klitschko against Lennox Lewis, he took some massive shots against Lennox Lewis, some big, big punches that would have finished any other heavyweight on the planet at that time. And Vitaly Klitschko stood up, held his own, and gave back as good as he got. And a lot of people obviously said that Vitaly would have gone on to win that fight. In my opinion, I don't think he would. I think Lennox Lewis was going to go on to win the fight anyway. I think he was cashing in with some massive uppercuts and really roughing him up inside. But Vitaly certainly impressed, I think, everybody in that fight. And obviously that turned out to be Lennox Lewis's last fight. I think Vitaly wanted a rematch, but obviously Lewis was pretty much done with boxing by that point. He'd accomplished everything he needed to. He didn't have anything to prove. So, but yeah, just thinking about the current heavyweights that are out there that can possibly even challenge the Klitschkos, it's a really narrow list. I mean, in my opinion, to beat Vladimir Klitschko, who's obviously the younger of the two and the more athletic, certainly, and probably the better, I would say probably the better boxer, in my opinion. I think Vladimir's a smoother boxer than Vitaly. Vitaly's obviously got that massive chopping right hand that he finishes a lot of his fights with, but he's very pedestrian, very one-paced, obviously, especially since years have been catching up with him, he's been getting older. But Vladimir, in my opinion, to beat Vladimir, the least you need is to be of the same physical sort of stature You need to go in on a level playing field physically, which means being probably as tall, if not taller than Vladimir Klitschko. I think you need to be of a similar sort of build. You need to basically have the genetics in your favour before, so you're not trying to put fires out. You're not fighting an uphill battle before the fight's even started. I think that was a massive problem that David Haye faced in the weigh-in beforehand, and obviously on the night of the fight. Haye he was just too small. He didn't have the reach. He was lunging, like overreaching with that right hand, missing by a foot at times, and it was embarrassing. He didn't seem to have a plan B at all. He was just sort of running around the edge of the ring up against the ropes, throwing the left hand out as a feeler and trying to wing a big right hand over the top, and it was hoping against hope. You could see it was never going to connect, and he obviously made the excuse after the fight of his injured foot or his toe, but it's obviously a complete and utter nonsense, and was absolutely embarrassing. As a British boxing fan, I was absolutely embarrassed for him, to be honest. But so yeah, and if Vladimir can keep you on the end of that jab, and he is smooth moving around the ring, a lot smoother than Vitali. So if he can keep you on the end of the jab, and he's got the genetic advantage, i.e. size, reach, that sort of thing, then I don't think anybody can beat him. I think maybe David Price would be the one. There's obviously a lot of hype around Price at the moment, and in my opinion, rightly so. I think he's done everything that's been asked of him. He's beat everybody comprehensively that's been put in front of him. He's got the amateur credentials as a naturally gifted boxer. He's got massive power, or at least he's shown massive power on a domestic level. Obviously, we've yet to see how he's going to do if he steps up to world level, but the way he dispatched John McDermott, who's, if the American fans don't know who he is, if there's anyone listening, he's obviously a sort of gatekeeper at domestic level, British title level, but David Price absolutely steamrolled John McDermott, which not many people do. He normally gives like anybody a fight, so that was very impressive. Absolutely, it was a great win, and first round stoppage. So, and his next fight is obviously going to be against Sam Sexton, who's been beaten by Derek Chisora a couple of times. He's a decent fighter. That's for the British title. That's in May, I believe. I expect David Price to win that fight quite comfortably, actually. I expect him to stop Sexton probably in the middle round somewhere, maybe 5-6, that sort of area. I think Sexton will probably give Price his toughest fight to date, but yeah, Price has looked extremely good. I know everybody likes to sort of play down the hype and all that sort of stuff, but it's justified. At the moment, it is justified. He's dispatched everybody that he's been asked to. He's done everything he's been asked to do. So, and he's obviously genetically very similar to Vladimir Klitschko or the Klitschkos in general. So he's got that in his advantage straight away. He can hit like a train, which I was just going to get onto. In my opinion, that's another thing that you need to have. I think you need to have that one-punch power that just, or maybe plant a seed of doubt in Vladimir Klitschko's mind, especially rather than Vitali. Because you just wonder if Vladimir, I know obviously people question his chin, and you just wonder if that sort of constant sort of tension that's paid to his durability and his ability to take a punch, you just wonder if it does play a factor into his psyche before fights. I know you could see that it was definitely playing into his mind against Haye. Obviously, Haye's got big power. He has got one-punch power, even at heavyweight. He's shown that in the fights before he fought Vladimir Klitschko. And you could see that Vladimir Klitschko was respectful of that power. And if someone like Price connects on Vladimir Klitschko's chin, or anybody's chin for that matter, yeah, the night's going to be over. I mean, he does hit like a train. I mean, the punch that he landed on Tom Dallas a year or so ago was an absolutely sickening punch. It was flush on the chin. Tom Dallas took a really heavy spill there, and Tom Dallas was actually another fancied up-and-coming fighter, English fighter, and that was his first loss. At the time, the two of them fought. They were both undefeated, both up-and-comers, and David Price absolutely steamrolled Tom Dallas, who's gone on to, I think, lose again. I think he lost last month in his comeback fight, so he looks to be sort of derailed. But yeah, David Price dispatched him comfortably with a pretty sickening punch. So if he connects on Vladimir Klitschko, then night's going to be over. So I think, as well as the size and just the genetics, I think he's got that ability to plant a seed of doubt in Klitschko's mind with his ability to finish a fight with one punch. So yeah, David Price is definitely a contender, in my opinion, and he will be probably in a year's time. I think he'll win the British title, as I say, against Sam Sexton in May, and then he'll probably defend it a couple of times, and then hopefully move on to European type level. I would like to see him fight Hellenius. That would be a decent test as a benchmark to see where David Price is. Obviously, Hellenius is very, very similar to Price and the Klitschko's in terms of stature, height, reach, etc. So be a really, really good test to see where David Price is, maybe in a year's time or so. But yeah, I think he's probably the prime candidate to challenge the Klitschko's, but it's just a case of seeing how he progresses. Obviously, Tyson Fury didn't fancy the fight against David Price. I'm not surprised. I don't really blame him. Tyson Fury's, in my opinion, I'm not including him in this little group at all. I don't think he's any challenge whatsoever to the Klitschko's. I think as soon as he steps up in class from domestic level up to even European level, I think he'll get shown up. I really do. He got knocked down in his last fight, heavy knockdown against a Canadian whose name is escaping me. I think he was like the Canadian champion, heavyweight champion. He was absolutely awful. Tyson Fury ended up TKOing him in the next round, round 3, but in the second round he got dropped heavy against basically a journeyman fighter from Canada. I just can't remember his name. Should have looked this up before, but I wasn't really planning on talking about Tyson Fury because, as I say, in my opinion, he's no contender or no challenger whatsoever to the Klitschko. So I'll move on from him anyway. Second person, and this is pretty much relates to Vitaly Klitschko only, is probably David Haye. If he ever gets his licence back, and if he applies, if they actually grant him his licence after the brawl with Chisora after Chisora's fight with Klitschko in the press conference, obviously Haye was as much to blame as Chisora was in that whole thing. So whether he was granted a licence back or not, I don't know. But if he was, I would say that he could beat Vitaly Klitschko. Watching Derek Chisora fight Vitaly, Derek Chisora got to Vitaly Klitschko a lot more than I actually thought he would. He connected with some decent shots, actually. It's just the problem with Chisora is he's not got that one punch power. He's got a decent amount of power, but it's more punches in bunches. He sort of needs 4, 5, 6 punch combinations to really get like the bigger heavyweights rocked. So there was not that he didn't have that ability to finish Klitschko with one punch or even two or three punches. So he was connecting with some good shots, though he was walking Klitschko down, and Klitschko looked absolutely shattered by the mid to late rounds, sort of from round 7, 8 onwards. Chisora's body shots really took the toll, and Klitschko looked absolutely out on his feet by the end of the fight. And I think he did give Chisora credit for the way he fought, and just seeing that fight made me think that Haye could beat Vitaly Klitschko, because obviously he's got that punch power that Chisora just simply hasn't got. So I would say Haye definitely will never beat Vladimir Klitschko, never. Vladimir's just too sharp. He's a lot quicker than Vitaly, but I think Haye would have a chance of beating Vitaly Klitschko, especially after seeing the Chisora fight. I know that Haye's not typically the same sort of fighter as Chisora. Chisora's obviously a pressure fighter. He walks through punches. He's willing to take punches to get his own punches off. But I think if Hay boxed and used the right game plan, which I'm sure he would, Adam Booth is obviously a tremendous corner guy, so I'm sure they could put together a game plan where Hay could be more of a front foot fighter in that fight and just look to unload big punches, because Vitaly Klitschko looked there to be hit all day long against Chisora. So if Hay connects, then Vitaly Klitschko's going to go to sleep, obviously. So and I would say the third guy on my list would probably be this is a long way down the road, but Seth Mitchell, the up and coming probably American hope heavyweight. Again, athletically, bang on the money, exactly what you need to go in against either Klitschko. He's got the size, he's got the reach, he's got the athleticism. Former American football player, really athletic. Obviously, one of those guys that did all the different sports through college and whatever. You can see he's got the athleticism, he's got the height and just the genetic makeup to challenge the Klitschko's. And he's also obviously got big power. 24 wins, 18 by knockout. Just looking at his Wikipedia page, actually, his last win was pretty impressive against Ibragimov, who's teak tough fighter. I've seen him numerous times give people a really tough fight, and he TKO victory in round 2. So yeah, I think he obviously, I'm talking at least 2-3 years down the line here. If the Klitschkos are still around, I'm sure they will be. They seem to love the sport of boxing, the competitive edge that it brings to them. So I'm sure they will still be around in a couple of years' time. So I expect Seth Mitchell to have had a couple of notable wins in that time, and he'll be ready to sort of step up in class for definite. His next fight looks like it's at the end of this month, 28th of the 4th, against Chaz Witherspoon, who, to be honest, I've never heard of. So we'll see how he goes in that one. But yeah, he's like I say, he's a guy with a genetic makeup and obviously big power to finish a fight in one punch. So yeah, that's my 3 guys, and unfortunately, as sad as a state of affairs as that is, I think that's pretty much a lot. I actually, before making this video, I had a quick look at the top sort of 50 heavyweights as they're ranked at the moment. Klitschko's obviously 1 and 2, Povetkin 3. I would have said Povetkin before his last couple of fights, but in my opinion, he looked terrible against Marco Huck, who's basically a cruiserweight. Marco Huck is ranked number 9, actually. Number 9 in the heavyweight rankings, that is. And he's, like I say, he's quite a big cruiserweight, but he's a cruiserweight. And I think he's going back down to cruiserweight to fight for the world title. And Povetkin never even, in my opinion, didn't look close to stopping Huck. I know Huck's tough, he is teak tough, he's got that reputation, but Povetkin should be handling cruiserweights a lot easier than that, and he's just not big enough. In my opinion, he's not big. He's got fast hands, he's obviously a brilliant boxer, like I say, really fast hands, but he's just not big enough. I think Huck was at least as tall, if not maybe a bit taller than Povetkin when they fought, and he had him in a fair bit of trouble with landed some big punches on Povetkin. So no, not for me, Povetkin. Helenius is ranked number 4. Absolutely no chance. Derek Chisora beat Helenius. That was an absolute robbery. I mean, I'm no Chisora fan, but that was, I think everybody acknowledges that was a robbery. David Hayes actually still ranks number 7. Chisora 8. And yeah, Chisora, I don't think it's worth Chisora getting back in with Klitschko if and when he gets his licence back. I think his one shot was against Vitaly Klitschko, and he gave it a damn good go, to be fair to him. He did himself proud in the ring. His actions before and after the fight were obviously a disgrace, but he did himself proud during the fight. But that was his best chance. If he didn't win that, he ain't going to win it all, in my opinion, against Klitschko. So yeah, that's about it. So just a few thoughts I want to throw out there, because it's, like I say, I'm not by any means sick and tired of the Klitschkos. I've always been a big fan. Always look forward to watching them fight, and that will continue until they decide to call it a day. I think they're a credit to boxing. So just a couple of thoughts I wanted to throw out there. if anybody's got any comments or any opinion on it, just drop me a comment below. And yeah, thanks for listening.